What you can't see there in listener land is that they're dimming the lights. So we're about to go. We're going to get ready. It's going to be a lot of fun. And what you don't see is that the room is crowded with very beautiful people and exotic people from all over the world. They are the most intelligent people here, the most extravagant, but also the kindest and the most generous and giving people that you've ever seen. And the woman speaking in the background, she is just dynamite. I can't tell you enough. You really should have been here.
I'm not a great listener. I'm a decent talker, which is maybe part of why I'm a bad listener. I've been complimented on my voice, my articulation, my ability to talk quickly, my storytelling abilities, my sense of humor, my sense of pathos, my sense of gravitas, all that shit. And by the way, those compliments never get old, but nobody ever says, "You're such a great listener." I'm a silence filler, and I've noticed that I do it enough and do it well enough that people look to me during silences by default. You know, there's a lull in a meeting, heads turn to me. Quiet moment at a party. "What's new with you and your dog, Zach? Still got those chickens? Excited about the baby?" Well, since you asked, Shosh is still reeling from a camping trip, which upended a lot of her deeply held beliefs about where sleeping should happen and how many strangers are supposed to be around at night. And we're down to one chicken, because the rest are getting picked off, horror movie style, each night around sunset, which is getting earlier every night, and therefore screwing with the chicken's natural inclination as to when to seek shelter, a nature-made catch-22 we're powerless to stop. And of course, I'm very excited about Arlo, and I'm already strategizing when I should introduce him to stuff like Yankee Hotel Foxtrot and the films of Shane Carruth. Other stuff is easy. Like Connor Oberst and Wes Anderson are going to be with this kid from birth, but you don't want to overplay your hand with the rest of it, you know? Do you? And what about you? How are you? How's work? How's the family? These are the kind of questions I never seem to have time for. I never seem to have time for questions at all. And how are you supposed to listen if you don't ask? How are you? How's work? What do you think about this? It's not like I don't care about the answers. I do. I think I just expect them to be volunteered. See, I come from a family of talkers. Listening doesn't really run in the family. If you've heard Morgan and I talk about Arcade Fire, you get the idea. Sometimes it's two podcasts running parallel to each other more than it is an actual conversation. Add another 4 to 5 simultaneous voices into the mix, and you can imagine a dinner at my mother's house. Add another dozen, and you can imagine Christmas Eve. In high school, I delighted in exposing my friends to the deafening and bewildering experience of a party with my extended family. And in college, David O. Russell movies made me feel weirdly calm, at peace, and at home among all that screaming. The first few professional jobs I got had me on the phone all day, calling and talking to strangers and looking for donations to various lefty political groups. I had no problem with the calling and the talking, the minor modifications or outright improvisations I'd try with the script on my thousands of calls. I only had trouble with the ask. It should probably come as no surprise that I married a listener. But it's not so simple as water finding its level or whatever, because Christy is not just a big ear for my non-stop monologuing. She is, in her own right, a silence filler that people look to. The difference is, she fills silences with questions. Christy asks her friends and loved ones a constant stream of questions and pushes for more details and clarifications. She makes listening into a contact sport. She is deeply interested in people, and it's one of her traits that I most admire. I want to be a better listener. And I want to be a better interviewer for this podcast. Don't get me wrong, I also still want to talk a lot, but I've been thinking more about listening and asking more questions. And it seems like a good place to start is with the questions themselves. What makes a good question? Is that a good question? Let's try some other ones. Okay, we gotta do the thing I said we were gonna do. Okay? The question. No, the question. I started my work for this season of the podcast with a list of questions. These were questions I thought I could ask anybody, absent any context. Some of them were pop culture specific, like, what was the last movie that made you cry? What TV show ended best? What's the best book you read recently? Others were a little bit bigger. Do the people you admire share a common trait? Do you have a favorite voice in music, radio, real life? I kept writing questions, thinking maybe I could build entire episodes around each. Like it'd be that easy. So what concert bill is the best one you've ever been to? Like, headliner, opening act, or opening act 2, question mark. Okay. Pat, you're up first.
Oh my god, I'll go first.
I know, right?
Okay, I am going to then say the Offspring Tree in L7 because she threw a tampon in the crowd.
How far was the tampon from you?
Like 12 feet.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't want to say how I know that it was exactly 12 feet.
They brought in like a Dexter blood splatter analysis guy.
I also got on stage at that show because they told them to throw the trash on stage and then come up and get it. And that was very punk rock, and I was very young, and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. All right, Colby, what's yours?
All right.
Oh, she's
Who
taking it. Look at her.
was the band that opened for that Dickie Barrett's birthday bash? Because I don't remember.
Oh, so what
The
are we
name.
Mighty Boss Tones?
Yeah, and the Gaslight Anthem, which is a band that I wasn't really into, but he kind of got me into. But that was a fun show. But I don't know who that opener
I
was.
wish you would ask me this
I-
Not trombone shorty.
we can come
Not
back.
even trombone. Like that was again. That was now. I'm.
Was it Miles Davis?
No. You might want to pass on.
Yeah,
that.
well,
You're gonna pass this? Okay.
I'll just like scream it at some point. I'm sure.
What do you got?
So I'm gonna say Jenny Lewis opened for the Mystic Valley Band, and it was 4th of July, and it was like the best show. I was in New York City, right at Battery Park, so you could see the Statue of Liberty. And then, as like, if it counts as a headliner third act, they played together. Jenny Lewis played with the Mystic Valley Band, so that was great.
What songs did they play?
They played a bunch of songs.
Oh, okay.
A lot of, mostly just Mystic Valley songs that she sang with them and stuff, I think. And maybe a couple Bright Eyes songs.
Yeah.
I don't really remember. It was years ago, but it was like the best show I've ever been to. Yeah, it was great.
I saw my favorite show. I saw at Radio City Music Hall. I saw Willie Mason opened up for Conor Oberst, and it was really awesome.
Well, mine is the Elected and Whispertown 2000 and Margot the Nuclear So-and-Sos.
Oh, it's Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
First Unitarian Church.
What? Really?
Church basement. Yeah.
Boy, well, you know, I'm tempted to say before they were the Monsters of Folk. M. Ward, Jim James, and Conor Oberst. That was fucking super rad. Mike Mogus was there. I mean, it was billed as Bright Eyes, so it wasn't just Conor Oberst. It was Bright Eyes, and it was the three of us, and I think maybe Christy's brother. Yeah, and that I remember being amazing. He played Lua, and it was like, yeah, I don't think we had even heard it really. That was great, but I was gonna say. Yeah, I'll stick with that lineup. That's a good lineup.
Yeah.
You know what? We saw you and I saw Jonathan Rice, right? Okay. You know what? Second maybe.
Okay.
Jonathan Rice before he was anything. Jonathan Rice, Whispertown 2000, and Jenny Lewis and the Watson Twins, which Jenny Lewis was killing it at that time with the Watson Twins. Yeah. The Watson Twins was a fucking awesome album. Robert Fur Coat. Really? Let me tell the story about Whispertown. Okay, so during the Whispertown show, nobody knew Whispertown. Josh and I think you even though you weren't going to the show, had looked up Whispertown on MySpace, and we heard the song Through a Hole. And
I talked to them on MySpace.
They were like yeah. So we had heard Through a Hole. We loved the song. So Josh and I are sitting at this show.
And Jory.
Was it Jory was with us?
Yeah.
It was just the three of us then, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting in the show. Where were you?
I was in Philadelphia.
So that was a church too. So we're sitting there, and I scream. I'm like, they're in the middle of their set, and I'm like, I scream in the middle of it. I'm like, play through a hole. And they stopped. They were talking. It wasn't like they were in the middle of a song. And they're like, you know our songs? And Josh and I are like, yeah, we do. And they're like, all right, well, we'll play it, but later on in the set. So, because they obviously wanted to end their set with their hit. So they get to that part in the set, and they're like, this is for our 2 fans out there. And I'm like, my name's Morgan too. Oh shit, I should have said the lead singer's name is Morgan. It's a girl. I go, Morgan, I'm friends with her on Facebook now. Morgan Nagler. So I'm like, my name's Morgan too. And they're like, oh, what? Your name's Morgan too? And I was like, and they're like, this is for Morgan. And I was like, fuck yeah. So then after the show, they were signing CDs. And Josh and I go up. We're like, yo, we're the dudes. They're like, thank you so much. You know, they were like, that's the first time anybody's requested anything from us. And I was like, no shit. And they were like, you want a CD? And I was like, I don't have any money because I was broke all the time. Josh paid for everything. And they were like, we'll give you a CD. You were our first request ever. So they signed it. I still have that fucking CD. think it's in the car right now.
Good. That's a good story. What is it? Say it.
Barrence Whitfield and the Savages.
Okay. On the record.
It's an American soul R&B vocalist, so it's not too...
No, yeah, it only took
Shorty, which is...
Well, it took 10 minutes to get there. I actually was thinking about you in particular. I was thinking about a question, which is that, okay, when someone comes and visits you in your city and they're not a local, do you have, like, set places that you take them? Do you have places that, like, people have to see in your neighborhood?
Absolutely.
So this is Spoon, my friend and radio co-host from college. Spoon is a talker, big time. So he seemed like an ideal person on whom to test a couple of questions.
So everyone has to go to the Reading Terminal Market. You got to go into Center City. You got to go into the Reading Terminal Market, which for those of you who've never been to Philadelphia, is this great big warehouse that is now a food market with food vendors that make every single kind of food you could want in the entire world, and all of it is unbelievably delicious. Really good Indian food, really good Turkish food, really good Chinese food, really good pizza, really good soul food, really good Italian food, 2 or 3 delis that have just some of the nicest meats and cheeses and you could ever ask for. There's a little butcher shop in there. There's a couple seafood places. The best sandwich in Philadelphia, and everyone comes to Philadelphia to eat cheesesteaks, and that's all good and well, and they're delicious, but the best sandwich in Philadelphia is a DeNick's roast pork sandwich. So you go to Reading Terminal, you go walk around in awe of everything that's there, you taste a few other things, you go get a DeNick's roast pork sandwich, and then on your way out, you stop at Bassett's and have homemade ice cream that's just about as good as anything.
The last time we visited Philadelphia a couple years ago, one thing I really liked was that you basically just took us and were like, here's where we're going to go, here's what we're going to do. Like, you took the decision-making process out of our hands because we didn't know what's good and what's not good. And it was so easy and great to the afternoon that we hung out because you made all the decisions for us, and they were good decisions.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But my feeling always is if someone's coming to visit your city, they have no idea where they actually should go. It's almost stupid to allow those people to make any decisions for themselves. And most people are so frazzled when they travel. The last thing on earth they want to do is actually have to think about where they're going. I think that's why the tourism industry exists.
Yeah, but like people, you want to be courteous to your guests when they come to your house. So you kind of your instinct is to like let them make decisions. But it was very eye-opening for me to learn that it's actually better to have a bunch of ideas and a bunch of suggestions for things to do, and to be kind of forceful about like let's just do them. Another great talker I know is John Pernisek. These days you can hear him on the podcast At the Trailers, which is not about mobile homes, nor recorded at a mobile home. It's about movie trailers, though it's not actually recorded during the trailers at a movie theater. You get it. It's about trailers. I did some of the music for it. It's a great podcast. Give it a subscription. First of all, maybe we talked about this before, but what's your relationship with movie crying? Are you a movie crier or not a movie crier?
I feel like I'm getting older and I have the potential to cry a lot more. I think things hit me faster than maybe they used to. I know that one of the questions you sent me was, what was the most recent movie that made you cry? And I document all the movies I watch. I just keep a running list. And so I kind of went through and I thought, oh man, I guess I don't really do it that often because I had to go back pretty far. I cried at a screening of the musical Falsettos. They were doing one of those like Fandango events, like limited time only events. And so like Chris went with me, even though he's not into musicals necessarily, and we went to go see this, you weren't watching it live, but it was just like this filmed performance of Falsettos. And I think I knew that was going to get me. Because by the end of that 2.5 hour period, when one of the characters is like dying of AIDS at the like height of the AIDS crisis, I think you kind of can't help but fall apart a little bit. But the last proper movie, was Sing Street. Have you seen that?
No.
Sing Street's really good. And I didn't think, like, I really do get a kick out of watching Once every now and again. Like, I really like that movie. It's the same director. And he kind of has a running theme of, like, he just makes movies about people who make music. Because he did the one with Mark Ruffalo and Natalie Portman. What's that one called? That one's called Begin Again.
Side note, but isn't it kind of crazy that in the internet age, someone would be short-sighted enough to name their movie something basic like Once or Begin Again? How's anybody going to find you on Google if you're not 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, or The 3 Burials of Malike Estrada, or The 3 Billboards of Malike Estrada, which, by the way, is my new band name?
So yeah, Sing Street's just great because it's like kind of a very stock story about kid wants to start band to impress girl. Kid, puts together band and impresses the girl. And then at the end, he sort of has to deal with the question of, I'm 15 years old. I really do want to do music. And he kind of has to figure out how that's going to pan out for him. And the songs are amazing. And just by the end of it, it just did a really good job of, it set me up and then it fucking hit me in the head with a bat, because by the end of it, I was just actively, not just like tearing up, I was like actively crying at that movie.
So let me ask, in both cases, did the waterworks come at a time of musical crescendo, or was it more just kind of character story stuff, or was it both?
I think it's that crescendo, yeah, because I think Sing Street was almost like right at the very end. Like they got me like right in its last moments. And yeah, you got to build up, because I think for the most part, I can't think of an example of like a movie that gets me like in the first half hour. Or
Up.
Well, that's true. Jesus Christ, yeah.
Wow, that was only halfway.
Yeah, but that's good.
Yeah, but a cough should be like blowing out the speakers.
That's true, I guess. Yeah. It's the night before the New Hampshire Film Festival, and all through the house, not a creature is stirring, because Shosh is staying at Christy's parents', and we're very sad. We've been staring at pictures of her for a while now. When you think about it, really, like, we would have gotten home 3 hours ago and seen her. We've only been away from her for 3 hours. And this is how bad it is already. But that's not what we're here to discuss. We are here to discuss the questions that Christy and I have both been writing for use at the New Hampshire Film Festival for interview purposes. Can we talk about my questions first, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be worse than yours?
Okay.
So what I have here is I have a little honey pot, which is to say I have this little card that says "Question of the Day" on it, which is meant to.
I thought you were talking about me.
I do have you as a honeypot too. Yeah, but I've got a little trap. This is to attract people. If they see me holding this "Question of the Day" card, hopefully some people will just approach me, and I won't have to just totally approach people all the time. That's what I'm hoping. I know it won't really be true.
It's definitely not true, especially because "of the day" is like really, really, really tiny.
You're right, but it's okay. That's true. Very small font, like 16-point font. And I just wanted to break in here for a moment and say that for anxiety-related reasons, during the film festival, I took the Question of the Day card out of my bag exactly one time for an interview that wasn't good enough to use. And it's actually still in my bag now. The first question still on the back, unasked to anyone other than John Pernisek several weeks later. What was the last movie to make you cry? Good question or no?
I think it's good. I
love talking about people crying at movies. It's as cathartic for me as crying at movies is. So
Okay.
that's part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would your answer be?
My answer?
Yeah.
I would probably have to say Up.
You saw Xavier Dolan, you saw Mommy more recently than you saw Up.
Okay. Then Mommy and the other one as well.
Boyhood.
Mommy and Boyhood.
The crazy thing is
Wait,
those are...
wasn't there another one?
I don't think that
No,
recently.
it's just been stupid things that have been happening in real life that have been making me cry recently.
Yes.
Not movies.
So that's crazy because those are both like 2014, 2015 movies, which means that you haven't cried during a movie in like 2 years.
I'm heartless though. Seriously, from when I was probably like about 5, I cried at the Little Princess movie, like some weird British like BBC version.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't cry until probably about Up.
At
So,
a
like-
movie. You cried in your life.
Well, I don't know.
At least once or twice.
But yeah, no, I went like a decade without crying at movies.
That's impressive. Who is your favorite modern director? And I think I said modern in here to keep some of these old Portsmouth jerks from just being like, Ingmar Bergman. They haven't had a decent director since.
Yeah. But I don't think that would stop a lot of people even so.
You're right, but at least then there's a slight barrier to the question they have to knock over. Well, I would argue that Orson Welles was the first modern director, therefore. Once again, what would your answer to that question be? It doesn't have to be. It could be one that it could change tomorrow.
You would know.
You want me to guess?
Yeah, you know.
I would guess Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I think mine would be Shane Carruth.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because it would be Shane Carruth over Joe Swanberg. I love Joe Swanberg, but Shane Carruth...
Well, more consistent with the product being to your liking, yes.
Yeah. Shane Carruth's made 2 perfect movies, but that's all he's made.
Yeah.
So, it's hard. It's hard to have someone be your favorite who so rarely appears. What's your favorite movie of all time? Now, this is a pretty wide open question. Obviously, almost everyone is going to wring their hands because nobody wants to answer this definitively. Mm-hmm. So, I see that as being a problem in terms of the question, structurally.
Well, can you ask them, like, name one of your favorite movies? It doesn't have to be, because if you say of all time, you're making them, like, chisel it in stone.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I just don't, maybe I could say, like, what's one of your most favorite movies? Like, I just like the idea of making it slightly more specific, because name one of your favorite movies, you can just throw out any movie that you kind of like. But, like, what I want to say is, like, give me one that's in the top 5.
What's one of the movies that's most special to you?
Maybe that could work. Most special is different than favorite in some ways, though. At least to some people, I think. Most special sounds like something that maybe you could tie to a personal event. Like, well, I saw this movie after my son was born, or I saw this movie, after I got the cancer-free diagnosis. So therefore, I will always be special to me. That's why I will always love Wild Hogs, the Tim Allen movie.
See that, but
I just feel like it's possible that it's moving the dial into a slightly weirder category. And for some people, favorite is different. Like, have you ever heard people talk about like guilty pleasure movie versus favorite movie and that kind of thing? I've never understood that.
No, and I don't get that either. Because
well, I know.
I think that if you like it, if it's one of your favorite for whatever reason, for whatever twisted reason something might be your favorite, it's still your favorite.
Yeah, it has to be good. Like, it still has to be good. People might say, like, oh, my favorite guilty pleasure movie is Clueless or Mean Girls or something, but it's like, those are good movies. Like, you don't need to qualify it. You don't need to be like...
But it also doesn't stop it from being your favorite movie, if that is your favorite movie.
Right. But I just mean, for some people, the word favorite almost means like I'm specifically not asking for what's the best movie. You know? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you could say, what's the best movie of all time? And some people see that as a different question than what's your favorite movie.
Well, yeah, because then it's like about global importance and accessibility and
right.
stuff like that, yeah.
It's like, I wish there was a word. Maybe most special's right. I was going to say, I wish there was a word that was the exact split the difference.
If you want to avoid having it mean emotion, well, no, because it is emotionally tied, but it's not. I see what your problem is.
What's your preferred movie?
Personally splendid.
I think we'll just stick with favorite and see how it goes.
I can get the thesaurus down.
Okay, go get it. You gonna start with best?
Just to see. It's not conquer. Surpass, defeat, choice.
Choice. Cream. Cream is one of their words. Elite.
Time. Prize. Top. Cock of the walk.
You could almost say, what's your top...
Flower of the flock.
If only I were British, I could say, what's your top film? And that would basically work. Like,
yeah.
that would work.
No, that makes sense.
Should I pretend to be British for this whole film festival? Excuse me, sir. May I query you? Do you feel like Blu-rays never got a fair chance? This is for a specific kind of person. But certain people might have strong feelings about Blu-rays.
I don't feel anything about this question. I probably will never ask anybody this question. And I'm not sure what you're going to get for an answer that's going to be satisfying to you. But if you like it,
I think I'm just looking for kindred spirits out there. I'm looking for someone to be like, yeah, I mean, as soon as Blu-rays show up on the scene, all of a sudden you can just buy your movie from iTunes. It's in the cloud or some fucking shit. I'm buying movies that I don't even own a physical copy of. What the hell is going on? And I'm going to be like, what's up, new best friend?
I think you could probably get somebody to be like that.
Yeah. What's the best thing you saw at the film festival this year? So that's a last day kind of question.
You can ask that 2 days in, though.
What's the best thing you've seen so far, you would say, at that point, right? I wouldn't say, what's the best thing you saw at the film festival this year, because it sounds so conclusive.
Right,
yeah.
So far.
What's the best thing you've seen so far? Sure.
Oh, favorite thing?
Yeah.
Geez.
Marjorie Prime, I think.
Yeah, you saw that, last night?
I saw that last night. I really liked that. Yesterday late afternoon. That was great. And the other one
Dr. Brinker.
Dr.
Brinks and Dr. Brinks. Yeah, you saw that one?
That was pretty good.
Yeah?
And also the Mars Generation was quite good.
I thought the Mars Generation
was wonderful.
Amazing.
That was the first one
What was
we
that
saw.
about?
That was about these kids in a space camp in Huntsville, Alabama. But that was really just kind of a device to give you a history of where the space program has been and where it's going.
Oh, cool.
Which is
actually
not going
really,
very well.
really
It was a really, really well done documentary.
We were very lucky that the producer-director of it was there, and he gave a great, Q&A afterwards. It was super.
That's good. I always feel a little bit of pressure when like the filmmaker is in the audience or something. Like, what if they're like right behind you while you're watching and like you're watching it wrong? But if they do give a good Q&A, that's really cool.
Yeah, that was really good.
And I also saw the pilot for The Messenger, And, the star and the director-writer were there, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a different thing for the film festival
Yes.
this year, like a TV pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of neat.
Very cool.
So this is our first year that we've done this. We just moved to Portsmouth about 6 weeks ago.
Right.
And
So
this is kind of like,
Well,
wow,
yeah.
what
This is a
an
pretty cool
amazing,
welcome.
Yeah,
it certainly is.
It really
yeah.
is. It's our second film festival since we've been here.
Yeah, because we did the Telluride one.
Right. Yeah.
So
We've lived in the area for a couple of years, but, it doesn't get old.
No.
So,
yeah,
No,
it's
really enjoying it.
It's a
Yeah.
really cool
Really enjoying
place
it.
to live.
Yeah.
very cool.
So, okay.
For creators, I was thinking, when you feel creatively spent, how do you stay inspired and keep going?
I think more than anything, the hardest part is continuing to have faith that your idea is a good idea. It's so hard to keep your enthusiasm in an
Yeah.
idea going for so long.
Yep.
So I'm always so curious about what kind of answers people have for questions like that, and I really hope we get to talk to some people and get a good answer like that, because that's a really good question.
How much do you have to compromise because of financial restrictions? Now that actually might be a little too personal. I don't know. Maybe it's
I don't
not.
think so, because people ask about money all the time at these film festivals,
Yeah.
and nobody really blanches at the question. I think often people are pretty eager to talk about it, because I think some of them honestly just want like an opportunity to thank the people that gave them money, and other people I think want an opportunity to prove how much they did with how little.
I feel like the people I want to ask it from the most are the in-betweens, because I feel like the people who are the most scrappy don't feel the pinch.
Right.
And they create these little, like, really wonky creative, like, gems, and they're totally enjoyable regardless.
Right. Some people can't realize their creative vision on the cheap, and some people can. And it's not like the thing that I need to realize is that it doesn't make the cheap person more valid than the other person. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, there are directors out there who are great directors, but they need $100 million fucking dollars. Like, and if you gave them $7,000, they wouldn't be able to do shit. And then there are some people who can make something great with $7,000, and it's just two different kinds of being an artist.
Yep. Oh, this is a really good one, especially if you're thinking about... Yeah. Anyway, so how do you know when you're finished and can walk away?
Yeah, so it was really hard. The process for this short film, Bringing Back Bodrick, I had, 1/3 of my whole master's was like 3 months of just researching nonstop, finding everything that could possibly, happen when the film, all the different storylines and everything. And I actually was only in Slovakia for 2 weeks of filming. So I had to cram it in, and no one in my film spoke English, so I had to use translators. Luckily, my girlfriend's an interpreter, and her classmates to help me. But there were days of filming where, there was no translator, and I only speak a little bit. It was 2 weeks there, and then it was another, 4 months of editing. And it was tough working through that. I shot 6 hours of just interviews, and I needed to get it down to a 10-minute film. I ended up getting 12 minutes, a little over, but, close enough. Yeah, and I after 4 months, I kind of stepped away from it, from the editing, and I, worked on some other projects and came back to it a month later and sort of did the final touches. But, it's really hard with, a project that has so many different angles to find its end. But I think every filmmaker gets to that point where they feel comfortable enough with what it is, and a film's never going to be perfect. There's always stuff you can improve, but my due date for my deadline for my master's film was kind of what ended the editing for me.
That helps.
Yeah, had to be in by submission time. So
Yes.
Yep.
This is Bob Glowacki, by the way, a nature documentarian. We talked to him in a very busy lobby about his short film Bringing Back Bodrick, which is a kind of circular exploration of the use of Chuvach dogs by Slovak farmers. These dogs had historical use defending flocks of sheep from predators, but their usage declined along with the wolf population. These days there's a kind of predator renaissance in Slovakia. or a predecessance, if you will, and so a new batch of dogs are being trained to defend the sheep, but a certain amount of instinct has been lost forever due to breeding and the slow forward march of time. Very specific thing to learn about at a film festival, right? That's why I love him so much. But anyway, how did a kid from New Hampshire end up making this film? The answer will not surprise you.
I met a girl from Slovakia, and we've been dating for 3 years. When I went to England, I had traveled to Slovakia many times, and I've hiked those mountains that you saw in the film. It's called the Carpathian Range, the Tatras in Slovakia, and I really want to feature, the beautiful part of the country in Eastern Europe, Slovakia. So I kind of started looking around for environmental topics because, my degree was wildlife filmmaking, and I love wolves. They're really, crucial species, and, in Eastern Europe, as many places in the world, they're facing lots of environmental crises. And I saw, this unique program one NGO had of training these dogs as puppies and giving them to shepherds. So, with that interest, I was looking around and I actually found an old folktale, which is about old Bodrick. And so I started and ended the film with a Slovak woman reading the folktale, and I, used footage of them today to sort of play out that folktale. And the folktale is a really good metaphor for the environmental crisis they're sort of going through. So it was that folktale that, gave the name Bringing Back Bodrick, because, bringing back this old folktale. And that's sort of how I came to that unique topic, I guess.
So, environmental filmmaking as a concentration, where do you go now? I know you said you went to school where the BBC is headquartered.
Yep, so I went to school in Bristol, England, where over 40% of all nature documentaries in the world are in some part made there. So, and the people from the NHU who make Planet Earth, they were teaching my classes, some of them. So right now I'm back in Exeter, New Hampshire, and I run the 2 public access stations they have there. So they have Exeter TV 98, which is local community programming, and then we also have a government station which films, selectmen meetings and conservation meetings, that sort of thing. So I'm using, the skills I learned there to try and, feature nature here. I have a wildlife show myself called Exeter Outdoors, and we go around to different parks in town and show the outdoor recreation and wildlife and how people can get involved in that. But we're also doing, a lot of unique other stuff featuring the town and arts and culture and history. We film lectures, all that sort of stuff.
Where do you send people in Exeter for the first time? If it's like one wild area in Exeter you got to see, what's the first stop?
It's got to be. It's kind of 2 places, but it's the river. There's a freshwater Exeter River, and it flows into the saltwater tidal Squamscott River, which goes to Great Bay and eventually makes it all the way to Portsmouth. So just canoeing out on the river, seeing the wildlife, the beavers, the muskrats, the great blue herons, and now fish, because I'm working on a documentary about the dam removal that happened in Exeter and revival of the fish. So, this central part of Exeter was made because of this river, and that's the best place to go to, get out in the wilderness right in your own backyard. So.
Okay, so to review my own performance there as a question asker, my first couple questions were all very contextually based. They were about Bob's film, and then from there, about Bob's background and future. I totally threw out my whole list of film festival questions. At the end, I did get back to one of my original questions on the overall Season 4 list, but almost disguised as a question that just occurred to me in the moment. But, if later I'd been building an episode about local hotspots around the country, I'd have been set. I'd have Spoodin's thing about the food and Bob's thing about the river, and if I'd scrapped that idea, like I did, I'd still have something for, maybe an episode about nature documentaries. Which actually is kind of what one of the next episodes is about, in a way, but the interview with Bob works better here because, within the extremely arbitrary framework I just laid out for myself, I did very well. A+ performance as a podcast host, if I say so myself. But it raises a question we might need to explore in the future. Are there different rules for what makes a question a good question for a podcast? In real life, isn't it more of the contextual stuff usually? And for podcasts, isn't it usually stuff that can be edited cleanly into distinct segments? Or is there a way that both can be true? Can I become a better podcaster and a better person at the same time? That's beyond the scope of today's episode. Today we're just trying to write some good questions, okay? Can I tell you that when I was trying to write questions, I Googled, like, movie questions.
Yeah.
One thing I found was a series of questions to ask for ESL practice. So it was questions like, what kind of movies do you like? Do you like horror movies? Who is your favorite actor? And they were just questions basically to practice speaking English.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found another one that was like from a website that was basically, it was called like How to Think or something like that .com. And it seemed like a website that was pretty much just dedicated to getting people to think critically about the things that they were doing. And they were asking questions like that. Like,
And yet you didn't feel inclined to ask people how it made them feel?
it was actually after I'd already read your questions. So,
Okay.
But it was like, you know, the movie that you watched, how long was it? Did it feel like it was as long as it was, or were you know like just trying to get you to think about every little aspect of the movie and how it was, and it was a lot of that, like, how did it make you? Did it make you feel sad? Why did it make you feel sad? And just tons of questions like that. To kind of like, if you were like someone who is incapable of introspection, you could just go down the list instead and like trick yourself into being thoughtful. Yeah.
I think for the most part that's good. I think that asking something straight out, like, did it make you feel sad, is one of the tracks that they actually tell you to watch out for when you're asking questions. You don't want to ask a question that can be answered with a yes or a no.
Right. Yeah,
because then you're leading them into just one corner, and that's all you're going to get from them.
So you don't ask a question that has an answer to yes or no, but then you also can't do the thing I do sometimes in this podcast, where I have like this really intense, complicated wind-up thing where I basically talk about all the different sides and factors of a thing, and then I just go like, you?
I'm familiar.
Yeah. So somewhere in the middle, there's a happy medium where you're prompting a substantive answer, but an answer that doesn't have to start at the beginning of time and work its way forward. Like you give them the parameters.
Right. I think a lot of the time your questions end up being the question, the answer, and then asking them to repeat back what you just said.
That's true. What have you seen at the festival so far?
Where have I seen? I've seen a lot of the shorts. I saw a lot of the shorts at the Loft yesterday, which I tend to enjoy the most.
Yeah, me too. You never know what you're going to get in like an hour and a half block.
Right, and if you don't like something in particular, you wait a few minutes, there'll be something new on. So.
Although sometimes you don't like something and it's another 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do like something and it's 90 seconds long.
Right.
But that's part of the fun, I guess.
Right, and I think with shorts too, it's interesting to see how much of a story they can tell in a short period of time.
Yeah.
And I think that's even more difficult than the long form.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think that's true. Especially when it's done really well.
Right.
You know, when there's a lot, and there's a lot of stuff that's unsaid in the story and everything. I don't know. Do you read a lot of short stories?
I do not. No, see, I should.
I do, and I'm always trying to figure out, like, what the comparison is, and I never really know. No. But yeah, so you only seen short films so far. So this is gonna be the first.
I've seen some long forms. I saw the Marjorie Prime prior to this.
We just saw that too. What did you think of that?
I thought it was interesting premise.
Yeah.
And I just thought there's some reality to that. Our memories keep evolving and changing. We forget a lot.
I know. It really bums me out when I see stuff about like how memory is lying to us all.
Right. And and having had a mother who had Alzheimer's, seeing that memory disappear over time, slowly, and it was interesting.
My grandmother had Alzheimer's too, and it went very quickly.
Yeah.
And so toward the end of that movie, when it started to speed up, and time kept jumping forward, it was like, okay, this is what this is like.
It's true. That's what really happens.
Yeah. It's funny that they're like the really high concept movies, when they're done right, they like capture something very real about life in an exaggerated kind of way, but by the end doesn't seem that exaggerated.
Right.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about that movie yet. Yeah. we usually we watch all these movies and then we go home with like 2 microphones and just like for like 2 hours just like unload on each other.
Oh, all right.
we were up until like 12:30 last night. It was
really
ridiculous. And then we were back here first thing this morning. Yeah.
What did you see that you liked?
I really liked, there was a short film yesterday that was called The Privates. It was about like a band that they were so good that their amplifiers kept literally exploding.
Oh, okay.
And that was very funny. And I really liked, we saw Lucky this morning.
Oh, okay.
It was Harry Dean Stanton's last movie.
Right.
And it was very peaceful.
Oh,
it was
okay.
Nice. It's like a very zen movie.
All right.
Yeah.
Something you'd recommend?
Yeah,
Okay.
I really like it, and I'm bad about like whenever somebody dies, like that's the year that I go get the book that they wrote or something.
Right,
you know,
okay.
I'm always a little late to it. So I mean, I've been aware of Harry Dean Stanton for years,
right,
and I've seen him in here and there, but I've never like sat with him for 90 minutes while he just did a thing.
Right.
So it was nice to be able to do, show shortly after his death.
Yeah, right. I agree.
Yeah. Very cool. What's your name?
I'm Bruce.
Bruce
Jolan.
I'm Zach.
Zach, nice to
Good
meet you.
This is Christy.
Hi, Christy. Nice to meet you.
Okay, so we can talk about the better person, better podcaster thing a little bit. I alluded earlier to some fits of anxiety that somewhat impacted my ability to cover the film festival very well, and, okay, here's the thing. I've always had a hard time placing myself on the introvert-extrovert spectrum because I can be incredibly friendly and talkative, and I can be terribly, cripplingly shy. There seems to be no rhyme or reason to this. My subconscious just flips a coin every hour. And that's true both personally and artistically. Sometimes it's easy to talk to a stranger at a party, sometimes it's impossible. Sometimes it's easy to approach somebody with a microphone while they're in line at a film festival, and sometimes attempting to do so makes my brain feel like it's on fire. And when I'm able, being an extrovert makes me feel great. Being introverted always makes me feel terrible. I hate being alone. I'm unproductive and miserable. We're about to have a baby, and there's a certain type of person who uses that opportunity to try and scare or irritate you. They'll give you that, gleeful, your life is over bullshit, and God, I feel terrible for their kids, but more to the point, hearing you'll never have another moment alone doesn't really scare me. It's the moments alone that scare me. I'm constantly trying to escape the prison of my own brain, and talking to other people is the easiest way out. Which is why I'm interested in asking better questions and then becoming a better listener once I learn to ask those questions. And so thinking about all of this has made me realize that I've answered my own question about good person, good podcaster. At least in my case, in terms of what the show is or is trying to be. When I have to briefly describe this show to people, I usually say that it's a show about creativity, and it is. But by making a good podcast about creativity, I can sort of backdoor trick myself into being a better and happier person. Which is not a bad goal for one's creativity, right?
Shyness is nice, and shyness can stop you from doing all the things in life you'd like to. Shyness is nice, and shyness can stop you from doing all the things in life you'd like to. So if there's something you'd like to try, if there's something you'd like to try, ask me, I won't say no, how could I?
I remember a couple years ago, a coworker mentioned that he was going to buy a new table over the weekend, and I literally wrote a note on my desk to remind me to ask him about it the following Monday. So, I've been thinking about this stuff on some level for a while, but this is the first time that I've really dedicated real energy to asking what makes a good question. And this is only the beginning, because once you start looking, you see potential subtopics everywhere. Christy's mom gave us this children's book recently called The 3 Questions, which is about a little boy who asks everyone, when is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? And what is the right thing to do? The answer turns out to be mostly about the importance of being in the moment, which is kind of impressive subject matter for a kid's book where a boy has a friend who's a monkey. I'm also reading this book called The Birth Partner, which is about not blowing it in the delivery room, and there's a long list of questions, mostly aimed at reframing a man's ego. It starts with questions like, how will you feel when your wife is moaning in pain? How will you feel when she rejects the previously agreed upon birth plan? How will you feel when she tells you to get out of her face? But gradually, it starts shifting to questions like, how will you feel when you hear your baby's first cries? How will you feel when you're asked to cut the cord? How will you feel when you see your child's face? And, I really appreciated the effect. And I'm looking forward to finding out the answers.
If there is ever the impregnable question of why, what did or didn't pass, it would help to seek comfort in destiny. But I really don't, we don't see eye to eye. But I need you, and you're always on my mind.
Today's episode of The Last Podcast featured the voices of Christy Little, Morgan Little, Pat Griffin, Colby Baker, Sarah Campbell, Josh Martin, Alex Christensen, John Pernisek, Bob Glowacki, plus Dan Freund, Bruce, some other people at the New Hampshire Film Festival. Production assistance from Christy Little and also Spoon's girlfriend Victoria. Special thanks to Chuck McMahon and Dan Hannon. I'm recording this sentence on December 31st, 2017, and I have no idea when this episode will be out, but thank you for listening and for being patient. If you've yet to investigate the Bright Eyes album Fevers and Mirrors, now is probably a good time to start. You got a week or two to listen before the next episode. After that, on The Last Podcast, we're going to try and save the world.